Thank you for tuning into Advanced TV Herstory, where we strive to elevate the importance of TV women by telling their stories. We know how seeing ourselves on television impacts our own growth and confidence. There's gold and inspiration in the decades of great work by underappreciated, often forgotten, significant, talented women. Thanks for listening and sharing this podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Bemis Abrams. Listeners, it feels like headlines these days, even more so than the unending list of TV show reboots. These headlines are asking us to revisit our American cultural past, because things that used to be accepted are no longer. I think there's gold in that process, and a whole lot of wisdom that can be gleaned from that effort. And there's so much to be learned from biographies, even biographies written a long time ago, because information has new meaning. And so I enjoy talking to people who also track, with great attention to detail, some of this very same herstory that you've come to appreciate in Advanced TV Herstory. One of the primary reasons why Advanced TV Herstory actually shifted to seasons is because I realized how much I had to discuss with Angela Ingersoll, who is a huge Judy Garland scholar and interpreter, and we couldn't just contain it to one episode podcast. Angela.
From Easter Parade? Yes, he rang with a favor. His brother-in-law was running for office, and could Judy help campaign for his 1960 presidential election? She was back in business. Judy credited John Kennedy with her miraculous recovery. And on the night Kennedy won, Judy was one of the first people that he called to personally thank. He was always just a phone call away. If she was having problems at the TV studio with the executives writing her about ratings, she'd just dial up the White House. Oh, darling, did you enjoy my show last week, my television program? Oh, you watched the program. Oh, the president watches, so I suppose you can't cancel me. And at his request, she would drop whatever she was doing, cradle the receiver, and softly sing Rainbow into his ear.
Get Happy, Angela Ingersoll sings Judy Garland, as seen on PBS. Splash Magazine calls Angela the heiress apparent to the Garland legacy. And just this year, Angela was nominated for an Emmy for her outstanding performance in Get Happy, which was her debut broadcast special. Ingersoll is also renowned for her stunning portrayal of Judy Garland in the play End of the Rainbow, which has graced the stages in Chicago, L.A., and St. Louis, just to name a few. Angela is based here in Chicago, where she does all sorts of theater, like traditional theater, in addition to her own concerts. I happened to be attending a reading of a new play and discovered that she is not just a walking encyclopedia and jukebox of all things Judy Garland, but that she's very much an analyst of how Judy's life and story translates to today's feminism and to society as a whole. This season, dedicated to the Judy Garland Show, is the result of 90 minutes of non-stop chat, oh my gosh, about the series, Judy's life, the biographical material that's been written, everything that's wrong with the world and everything that's right with the world, all of it. It's a thrill for me to share not only our conversation, but to place it in the context of this very important 26-episode TV series. Angela Ingersoll.
I think the music of the 20th century, particularly all these great standards that Judy was singing, the oldies of her day and the new songs that were written for her at that time. I feel like these songs in the 21st century are a currency for audiences to feel like we have something in common. You know, we all know the words to something like Over the Rainbow. So no matter where we're coming from in our own personal or family history, maybe we can find a commonality through the great songs of the 20th century. And so that's why I feel a calling to keep them alive.
So tell us, Angela Ingersoll, guest in the studio today. Oh, you guys, Tell us about the Get Happy show, how it is that your career sort of now has really become premised on this Judy Garland tribute and the Get Happy show, and how you arrived at sort of the format and the audience's interest.
Thank you. I shall. It's my love child, along with the guidance of my husband, Michael Ingersoll, who's a performer and producer, and so much of the inspiration came from his support. My husband was a Jersey boy for a long time who ended up starting his own group called Under the Street Lamp, and they made a number of PBS specials and toured around. And so he transitioned from the theater world to the concert world. And while he was making that transition, I was working mostly in Chicago theater. And I couldn't help but be interested in that concert world the more I learned about it from him. So over time, I began to get an itch and say, you know what, I'm a little tired of the fourth wall. I'm a little tired of suspending the disbelief when I see an audience. I want to have more of a direct connection with audiences. And therefore, I wanted to step into the concert world. And as I was doing so and trying to figure out how to write material for myself, I realized what I wanted to talk about more than anything in the world was Judy Garland. And I took the advice of all of my most favorite artists whose biographies I've read and great artists I have been able to meet, who told me, eventually you got to write your own work. Nobody's going to do it for you. And that was really the impetus behind all of this. So as I began to write about Judy, it felt like a really big risk, because I wanted to dare to tell the world that I could do her justice.
Listeners, you know I'm a big believer that we need as much analysis of women on TV, the women we saw, the work that went on and that continues to go on behind the scenes, the power of having women writing, directing, and producing, that we simply can't leave that up to media studies professors and gender studies scholars and TV critics. No, goodness. Think about it. If we left analysis of sports up to only those who were paid to report it or coach it, what? Think of all the radio stations that would go out of business. What would men listen to throughout the day on AM radio? There's opinions, certainly, that everybody has when we watch a TV show. Some people put their opinions into podcasts. But what makes Angela deliver a higher grade of analysis is, number one, her lifelong interest in Judy, and secondly, the amount of study that goes into the performances that she's delivered. And let me tell you, End of the Rainbow is a dark, difficult play. And Get Happy requires immense performance. Performing Judy's work requires mental preparation. You will find, and I encourage you to go to Angela's website, angelaingersoll.com, and see some of the clips of her performing. She's got energy that is simply endless. And she belts out hit after hit to audiences. She tells stories about Judy. She puts a lot of knowledge into this presentation. And then she conducts a question and answer. And what do you know? You're walking out the door, and then the next thing you know, she's out in the lobby engaging with her audience.
So sometimes I'll do the play where I'll wear replica costumes and, do the voice and the mannerisms. But a part of me, I guess it's hard to pick, but I prefer the concerts because I like that direct, honest connection with the audience. And I invite them to participate a lot. Mm-hmm. I like to have question and answer periods throughout the concert. I want people to shout out their thoughts to me, and I feel like I can compassionately and respectfully field anything they want to know about Judy.
Oh, that is just, and it is a tremendous concert. And so we will, listeners, we will give you Angela's contact information, the website, and she'll talk a little bit about what she's got going on. Although, because these episodes, these interviews are kind of evergreen. So, but I'm guessing the internet will still be around in 2 years. I knew Angela likely had a lot of perspective of the 26 episodes shown in 1963 and 64, which were relegated to obscurity and considered a failure. It was considered a failure. Then Judy has a rough couple of years. She does not leave the world gracefully. she was just not considered the way, I don't know, how is it that Marilyn Monroe was able to die a somewhat similar sad death and yet is held in such higher regard? For her show, Get Happy, as well as for other acting roles, Angela has earned an Emmy nod, a Jeff Award, that's a Chicago thing, and along with 3 nominations, a Broadway World Award, the LA Times Woman of the Year in Theater Award, Top Performances of the Year honors from the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, and the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, a few months ago, I attended one of her performances, and it was as much fun to watch Angela perform as it was to study, looking around, the audience. It was quite an audience.
So I see lots of different kinds of folks at my show, and that gets me excited because you might not suspect there are many forms of entertainment in which a group from a nursing home, little girls dressed as Dorothy, and lots of middle-aged men showing me pictures of their pit bull dogs who are their children after the show can all come together and feel unity. You know, it's really, really great. I just don't feel like there are enough places we can come together and feel unified nowadays.
As we come up upon the 50th anniversary of Judy's passing and the 80th anniversary of The Wizard of Oz, one need only look at the books and the plays and documentaries about Judy's life to see a certain pattern. They are all primarily written and produced by men. Her life was surrounded by men. There is nary a woman in the room or deep in the stacks writing the words that tell Judy's story. And that's what makes Angela's representation, her interpretation, all the more real. And it doesn't take long for you to realize just how sincere and committed Angela is to getting it right. She doesn't just sing Judy's songbook. She does all she can to make it matter and relevant for today.
Because you have hand selected what resonates so much with audiences today in 2018, and that resonated in 1963, and that resonated way back in the 40s or the 50s when they first came up. So talk a little bit about that song selection and what are your favorites that you like to deliver?
Oh, goodness gracious. She and I share one of the very favorite songs to perform. She does it at Carnegie Hall. She did it in concert all the time, and she does it on the TV show. And it was a big hit for her very favorite singer, Al Jolson, as I mentioned before. And that's Rockabye Your Baby with a Dixie Melody. It's such an old song. I really love doing it because it's such a showstopper as she orchestrated it. I do slightly change the lyrics to that song from what Judy sang. I've had audience members ask me about this in my shows. The lyrics to that song reference a number of other older songs. Sing for Me, Weep No More, My Lady. Things like this. We're referencing older songs of the time period. One of the songs is a Stephen Foster song, and as Judy sings it, she says, "Sing Old Black Joe, just as though you have me on your knee." I have changed that lyric to say, "Sing Poor Old Joe," because as I researched that song, and I was going to do it on TV for PBS, I said, is this an outdated mode? Is this something that it just... I don't need to resonate into the 21st century.
Is this your Paula Deen moment?
Yeah. Well, it just seemed like, is this worthwhile to sing this song, or is this something of an older era? And when I researched the original song, it had been recorded by both Paul Robeson and Louis Armstrong, two of the greatest African-American artists of the 20th century. And when they recorded that very old Stephen Foster song, they recorded it as Poor Old Joe, not Old Black Joe. And I thought, well, let's do respect to the gentleman who really... have the expertise here. And so I do change the lyric to that one song when I do it live and as I recorded it on television. And that makes me feel good because I do want to be conscious of moving forward with keeping these sometimes very dated pieces relevant today and meaningful for audiences today. And we're all evolving, and I want to have an eye toward history that is respectful today, not only of Judy as a woman, as an artist, but also as being relevant to American culture. And certainly at that time, race relations were one of the most important things going on in America. It's 1963, 1964. And one of the greatest artists that she had on the show to represent that was Lena Horne. My goodness
I thought you were going to
gracious.
say Count Basie.
Oh, and Count Basie too. No, goodness gracious. Both. Okay, well, I have a crush on
and
Lena
Diane
Horne.
Carroll.
Diane Carroll, but the segments with Count Basie, I mean, just on which he brings on his orchestra, and you got Judy with an entirely African American orchestra, just really showing America how good it can be if we do less talking and more listening to one another. You just shut up and listen to somebody like Count Basie, and you can realize how much we have in common. It's the rhythm of life within us. Let's not get distracted by the details we think that make us different, because a lot of that's just propaganda. Because what makes us the same is always going to be in that music.
Listeners, Angela focuses on 60s Judy and helps us understand why songs were selected for Judy and her guests to perform and how they fit the American social and cultural context of that 2-year period. That's really important to being able to find new value in the struggle that CBS foisted onto Judy. We're only now learning just how sexist and ageist power brokers in the entertainment world can be even today. And Angela doesn't unduly make Judy a saint, and she doesn't go all flaming feminist in her shows the way I'm doing for you right now. But she does help us understand the iconic role that Judy plays even today in our culture.
And so I can't press enough how vital I think it is for us to come together and be in the same room together. And when you hear somebody different from you sitting right next to you humming the same song, it's going to heal your heart. I promise.
Yes.
It'll just calm down all the scary voices in your head.
Because really, that is the patchwork of America. That was the America that Judy experienced. We saw the strength. We saw the innovation, the tremendous leadership throughout the world that American values brought forward and American entertainment.
And something that she represents was the sense of survival, that when it feels like everything's going to fall apart, we can get up again. We can get up again and stronger. One step at a time, you can do it.
She had a direct connection to her mojo, to her soul.
They called her the comeback queen.
And
every time they thought she was down and out, Judy got up again, and it's a great metaphor.
I guess sparking a little bit back to something you initially said, which was you followed your heart to do this, to tell her story, to be her on stage, to carry her legacy, to only represent her legacy.
Yeah, I believe that I'm the artistic descendant of her legacy. I believe I was born to have this likeness to her, which helps me tell her story in a way that's a great, hopeful gift to live audiences. That's
I think it's
a little entrancing that I look slightly like her, but that I'm not trying to fool anybody. I don't consider myself a quote unquote tribute artist trying to fool anybody that I am Judy Garland. No, I am Judy Garland's biggest fan, and I want to share.
And you're an interpreter.
I'm an interpreter.
Yeah.
So
that makes my heart feel like the stories we talk about, the stories we bring to listeners from Advanced TV Herstory. My going into great length about Shonda Rhimes' Year of Yes.
Ooh, yes.
And the fact that, we get leadership stories from these women, from their hard work. We understand persistence, that nothing comes easy, and that the price and the pain that was paid by even American icons who were at the top of their career was so monumental compared to some of the luxuries and the opportunities we have today.
It's so easy to think that, celebrities have it better than the rest of us. And I love biographies because I love digging into the fact that those folks sacrifice so much and we're able to learn so much from that.
Did. I'm the lucky one. Podcasting has provided me a wonderful, unexpected chance to meet people via Twitter, finding people quite knowledgeable about a given subject, and sometimes meeting them in real life. I love to talk about the important lessons that women of TV deliver and how today's headlines have a direct bearing on the things that we've read about and thought was the truth. Because it kind of bugs me when the history that we thought we knew really wasn't the truth. That all along biographies were written with a lot of sugarcoating, with the facade. That same facade that was at the MGM studios in the late 30s, employing scads of people to cover up a lot of behavior, a lot of searching, a lot of loneliness on the part of the stars who were creating entertainment. There is a lot of truth that didn't get told. So here we are today in the age of social media, greater transparency, better understanding, greater acceptance of everybody for who they are. Storytelling and celebration and helping others understand can in fact take all forms. People come to it from different paths, but it's up to us to present it in those different voices via different media. And Angela has learned that too.
I'm excited. I had an artist at one of my shows recently. There was a young lady came up to me after the show. You know, I had been singing all night, and she handed me these gorgeous sketches. She drew me while I was singing in a comic book superhero style, right? Because that's her
awesome.
art.
That's awesome.
So it's a picture of Judy Garland of me now as a superhero. I have to post this online so you can see it. And so that's a reason for me to keep telling the old stories,
right,
is for young people to pick them up and turn them into their stories.
Everybody's got a way to update everything.
Yeah.
And to keep it fresh and to keep sharing these stories.
It's our shared legacy. It makes us one family.
Oh, I am so glad you were able to spend some time with us today.
Thank you. I had a ball.
And we are listeners, we're just going to keep talking when we hit the stop button. But know that the one thing I want to make sure you do is get to Angela's website and maybe follow her on some social media. Angela, how do people get a hold of you and track your schedule?
I do. I have a Facebook page. It's not a public page. It's a regular friend page. So I'm going to run out of friends at some point and have to turn it into a public page.
5,000 is Mark Zuckerberg's limit.
And I'm going to get there soon. But I invite people to come to that. I don't put anything on there I wouldn't share with my friends, my fans. So come see me there. Come see me on Twitter. I'm just Angela Ingersoll, all lowercase. And I'm on Instagram too. But there's an underscore, Angela _Ingersoll.
All right. And your website is?
AngelaIngersoll.com.
All right. And your schedule is kept up to date, and you're all over the place. You were in Memphis not that long ago,
I was
right?
recently in Memphis. Yeah, as I said, coming up, I've got Hawaii and Texas and Florida, and just people come and go so quickly here. all over the place.
So gift giving opportunity.
Oh,
listeners,
right. CDs and DVDs.
Or
Absolutely.
listeners, keep an eye on Angela's schedule. And when you
Tickets,
don't know what to give your aunt, your uncle, your mom, your dad, your grandma.
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
For grandma and grandpa that can't get out to shows, the DVDs can be really something that helps them feel connected. I know that I've done that at a couple of the last shows I've been at. I've had people saying, my mother was supposed to come with me today, but she's in the nursing home and had a bad day, couldn't come. And we make sure that they have a CD and DVD to go home with so that we can share the experience with people no matter their mobility.
Right.
Yeah.
Listeners, this has been a great topic to transition to a season format. Judy Garland, there's just so much to think about. The decision to go in this direction is largely due to the enormous feedback I received from you, saying that what makes Advanced TV Herstory so distinct from other podcasts are the moments when we take a close view of TV herstory and then see how it connects to today. That's the blend of sociology, gender studies, history, and business that few other podcasts offer. So no matter how you came to listen to this episode or any of the past episodes, know that you can find us other places as well. We try hard to make our work available for convenient listening, and we'd be incredibly grateful if you'd take a few minutes to share this show with someone who might enjoy this fresh take on Judy Garland. Even more so if, in sharing this podcast, you open the whole door to podcasts, which really are just audio programs, like listening to the radio, sort of, to someone who otherwise finds the idea of listening to a podcast to be complicated, downright intimidating. Help that person. As a matter of fact, just say to them, find the Just Press Play button of Advanced TV Herstory at the tvherstory.com website. Or go to Pandora and search Advanced TV Herstory. We're even on YouTube. On social media, you can find us. Our Twitter handle is TV Herstory, and on Instagram, Advanced TV Herstory. And as always, our email is advancedtvherstory@gmail.com. For this important season on Judy's show, The 60s Judy, we owe a great thank you to Angela Ingersoll. She brings her love and knowledge of Judy everywhere, including our studio here in Chicago. Such tremendous energy and heart. We wish her the very best as her show, Get Happy, builds its audience, travels the country, and we really hope to have her back here at Advanced TV Herstory for more fun. If you want to know more about the Judy Garland Show, the series, I highly recommend Coyne Stephen Sanders' book, The Judy Garland Show, Rainbow's End. I've quoted Sanders' research and direct quotes from that book, though all those interviews that are now going on 30 years of age. Wow. We're coming up on the anniversary of The Wizard of Oz and of Judy Garland's series. A lot of really great stuff out there. Okay, as we leave and finish this episode of Advanced TV Herstory's look at the Judy Garland Show, I have to, of course, give credit behind the scenes to two people who make this show what it is. Jen Eads of Brassy Broadcasting, who serves as audio editor, and Catherine Yang, who is associate producer and video director. Very talented, true believers in the work we're doing. And that background music, that's Jazzer's Take Me Higher, which you can find at freemusicarchive.com. I leave you with this. In 1963, Judy Garland said in an interview, "You really want to know why I'm tackling a weekly television series? Because CBS is letting me be myself, letting me be a whole, total, complete person." Listeners, be yourself. Be whole. Give it your all. Thanks for listening, and thank you for recommending us to others. I'm your host, Cynthia Bemis Abrams.